Halle Berry as a combat sports athlete, I can buy into that. Well, at least I didn't think I would until I watched this, and now I'm like, yeah, I totally could buy into it. So I don't know if you all had a chance to watch this, because I think this was on the film festival circuit, but nonetheless, because it's about to be available, let's check out this new film, Bruised. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Bruised, which is going to be on Netflix November 24th, and it's in theaters as of November 17th. And again, as I said, I think it was in the it was on the film festival circuit as well too. But I'm just now getting a chance to check it out. And honestly, I feel like this is a good theatrical release. This was one that, upon me watching it at home, this is one I wish I would have got to watch in theaters, because I really enjoyed this. And I may be just a tad bit biased because I am a combat sports enthusiast. I love me some Halle Berry. I love me some Shamier Anderson, where he just keeps popping up left and right in films. And it's just, a story that, yeah, you've seen before, a disgraced athlete who eventually leaves the sport for one way or another, falls on their luck, and then eventually makes their claim back to fame, the redemption story. This is something like Creed that you've seen. If you've seen Southpaw, something like that, we've seen these stories left and right, but this was a little bit unique. One, because it's Halle Berry, and I love Halle Berry, and this is a film by Halle Berry. The soundtrack is amazing. I mean, I feel like all of the combat sports films usually have really good soundtracks, but this one is a dope soundtrack with all female artists. So definitely got to tip my hat off to that, because the soundtrack is definitely a banger. I need it. By the way, I think it's available now too, if I'm not mistaken. But it's very similar to a lot of the other films in regards to the pacing, where certain elements of the story and how it's planted, you have to see them fall from fame, and then you have to see them down on their luck, and then you have to see more adversity hit with them, and then you see the training montages, the rise, the doubts, and all that other stuff, till you get to the ultimate big fight, and then that's the conclusion of the film. And that's where this one goes. But there's a couple of things that's different with this character, Jackie Justice, who's played by Halle Berry. She's battered and abused, both in her childhood, both in her in her home, where her manager, her boyfriend, is has his own battles with substance abuse. She has her battles with that. He obviously takes his anger out on her because of her failing success, and yeah, obviously she's already down on her luck because of a fight that she's lost and she hasn't been able to recoup. And she has a good record. She's fighting in Invicta Fighting Championship, which is basically another brand on the UFC. She's 10-1, so she lost one fight, and like, she's really down on herself. I think they said she didn't fight for how many years was it? It was a couple years that she didn't fight, and it was always the idea of ring rust and her being able to get back into it. So like, yes, they told the story in regards to realism on that, because yes, that's a realistic factor. But as if that wasn't even hard enough for her, then her 6-year-old child re-enters her life. He just basically gets dumped back on the steps and like, here's your child, and he's a mute. He's not speaking to her, so she's basically raising a stranger and trying to really get through to him, and they're trying to get trust from one another, while she's also trying to get back trust in her lively everything around her mother, her trainer, her new trainers, anybody that's influenced. There's a lot of trust building in this, and again, with not having no money, losing the fame and the fandom, it's just a struggle. Then now you got to raise a kid. But let's talk about this though. Halle Berry, whether she did all her stunts or not, Halle Berry is 55 and looks amazing. One, and then when it came down to the training, because she had to get in there at some point for this, she looks great. She looks believable as a combat fighter. And I say this in any type of film that has to deal with combat sports, is that you have to show me that you make me believe that you're a fighter. You know, show me the choreography down there that you really look like a fighter. And I think she executed really good, way beyond my expectations here. And you know, because sometimes it could be a little bit cheesy, sometimes it could be a little bit like they could telegraph stuff, but I feel like it was really good. So whether she was in there for all her stunts or not, which the editing's really good because you really can't tell, she did her thing. She looks really good in this film in regards to the training, the contact, the stunts, all of that. She looks good. So definitely do not think she BS'd on this at all. And it's her film, so why would she? She wants to make it as good as she can, right? But I think one way or another, when it came down to the actual MMA, I thought the transitions was good. Even though like no fights would have this many transitions in the big fight, I still thought it looked really good. And I actually thought the fight build was actually done really well to a point that I would actually have wanted to see in this fight. And let's let it be known, Amanda Nunes is the greatest of all time, but Halle Berry's sparring partner and her rival in this movie, Valentina Shevchenko, is also nothing to be played with. She is the real deal, and I thought they worked really well together, and obviously she really helped. She had to have helped in the training and making this happen. And like the biggest thing I'll say is that like there's, you know, just obviously having fights where it's just look like you're just sparring, but then in this fight they were going at it. This was a legitimate brawl, and they weren't holding back. Like it looked real, it looked intense. I felt the energy. I was truly convinced that there was a fight instead of just two people dancing around in the octagon, which you see at times, but no, it was a real fight feel for this one here. And like the intensity behind that was just so good that I was so invested into it that I gotta tip my hat off to them. Like they really brought together a good, compelling fight. Regardless of the story, the fight itself told its own story that was really good, but then the story behind it as well, I thought they did really good. And again, Halle Berry is 55 and she looked good in there. So yeah, you will be cheering, you will be rooting, you will be totally invested one way, shape, or form. And again, like I said, it is a good redemption story. It's not one you haven't heard before or seen to some extent. It doesn't truly reinvent the wheel, but it does have its own unique characteristics attached to it. But the core base of the story is definitely something you're familiar with. But yeah, like the film says, you know, it's a little bruised, but it's good. So totally check it out on Netflix November 24th. Folks, I think if you're a fan of Halle Berry, if you're just looking for your next good, a really good film, telling a good story, a good drama, good action, some good sports in it, whether you're a hardcore combat sports fan, I think for all reasons, there's a lot of reasons. For all intents and purposes, there's a lot of reasons for ones to check this out, and I definitely think you should. And I will say, for anybody who's not a combat sport athlete, is it too harsh? I think the main fight that they build up to, it definitely gets bloody. There's definitely some contact, so that may be a little bit crucial for some people. But that's not until the last 20 minutes. So up until that, I think you will appreciate it. There is like a street fight or underground street fight scene near the beginning. That's pretty intense as well too. That really sets the tone. But other than that, it's mostly just the training montages, the story, the mom and son newfound relationship, and a lot of other stuff that really coasts the film. So yeah, but check it out. Jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.
I